Greetings from sunny Southern California where all is hot, all is healthy, all is rockin'. This is Vandal Drummond, joined by Alfredo Esparza with the latest edition of Slammin' Stan. We are trying something we've never tried before. We are trying to create a podcast without the use of telephones, cellular or landlines. We're going to be covering quite a bit tonight. We're going to be featuring some interviews from the Viva La Lucha show that took place July 22nd in San Diego. We'll also be looking back at all the recent news. Then there's been a lot of it. There's been the CM-Punk versus John Cent feud. John Cent, one of WWE's finest workers, even though he never wrestled for Al Timko. We'll also check out the whole story about Vince McMahon Jr., or Vincent Kennedy McMahon Jr., whatever you want to call him, being fired, Triple H taking over the realms, where this is all going, the misfortune that has come across Sin Cara's career, where this might leave Averno. Will he be staying in CMLL, or is he headed to WWE as originally planned? We're also going to be covering a lot of CMLL news, and we're going to take a nostalgic look back at the career of Alberto Madril. I remember him well from Southern California in the late 70s. Fredo remembers him from world-class wrestling. So, sit back and enjoy in this new experiment. This is all very foreign to us, this thing called a microphone. I'm holding it in front of me like a frozen banana. Lucky Pierre has a lot of things he'd love to do to it, but we're just going to conduct a proper show, as we always do. So sit back and enjoy. We will be right back with our first dose of Slammin' Stan. Okay, we have returned. Well, this last Sunday took place the Money in the Bank pay-per-view.
Which we missed.
Yes. One thing you can always rely on. We will always miss important pay-per-views.
Well, see, we're trying to save our money. I mean, $45-$55 for a pay-per-view.
We're cheap bastards.
Yeah, we're pretty
it's
cheap.
my Scottish heritage. I'm pinching every penny I can.
We'll order a Viva La Lucha pay-per-view for $20, but we'll order Dragon Gate. We'll order all this other stuff for $20, but we're not going to order a 45 for a B-rated show. And actually, it turned out to be a really good show. So
yes, in fact, I've heard one source say that's one of the best pay-per-views that WWE has ever produced.
Well, Dave Meltzer said it was like the best B show since the Calgary Stampede show. So, and that show was really good. Did you watch that?
Of course not.
No, you did. You didn't even catch it like the pay-per-view, like on VHS down the road or DVD.
No, especially if it was on VHS. I think I abandoned that by the late 80s. That's when I started. That's when I discovered the beauty of Lucha Libre. When Select TV, which was antique of a cable station in the LA area, went bust, went out of business in 1989. It was a renaissance for me because that's when Galavision returned to the air, and the only thing that ever aired on Channel 22 previously was Titanes en El Ring. In 1989, they started airing CMLL, Lucha Libre, and I watched very little WWE for maybe 5 or 6 years.
So you've never even, not once, even like seen a clip of Calgary Stampede? Well, you've seen highlight, like the picture highlights, right?
Yes,
at the beginning of Raw. That's all you've seen.
That's
the
all I've
photo
seen.
Highlights, because that's what they used to air on Raw. Remember?
Think of this, and this is no disrespect to the great heritage of Stampede Wrestling. Great respect for it. I salute it. I especially like the books that were written on it.
But
the books that were written on Calgary Stampede Wrestling are even better than Calgary Stampede Wrestling itself.
So you never saw the 10-man tag, Calgary Stampede 10-man?
Absolutely not. Well, put it this way.
So how can you... So you basically... This could be the greatest B show ever, and
Well, since
you'd agree with it.
I'd agree with it because I've seen neither.
You've never seen it.
I will take
You can't
people's word
compare.
for it.
It was better than WCW pay-per-views, basically.
I can picture that.
Yeah.
You see, the thing you have to realize, I have access to Lucha Libre every Sunday, and back then it was a 2-day delay. Whereas the Friday night shows aired 2 days later.
Well, now it's like a week delay. So
yeah, which is a pity. So I was in heaven. Not only that, but in 91 I befriended Steve Sims, who had a source for UWA tapes. So he was mailing them to me when I was done with that. So let's see. I could watch The Hearts, who I salute again, awesome. I could watch all the other folks in WWF, whoever the F they were. Or I could watch Negro Casas. I could watch Octagon. I could watch Fuerza Guerrera. And then the UWA tapes, I could see Espanto Jr.
I hate Octagon.
Yeah, but you gotta understand.
He ruined my dad and my relationship when it comes to watching wrestling.
Okay, we have a good story here.
My dad hates wrestling because of him.
Do tell.
You know, the whole tassel thing. Him getting tied up by Fuerza Guerrera to the top of the rope. I think I've said it before. How it pretty much used to frustrate him the entire time.
I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, so...
It brings me back to
it was great. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I thought it brought me back to the olden days when occasionally one of the heels in L.A., usually Black Ordman, one of the baby faces would handcuff him to the rope.
Yeah.
And I think the reason they always did it with Black Ordman is when he would sell being miserable, he was like the bully who got his butt kicked and is crying for his mother. And, Octagon is just the other end of the spectrum. The baby face is...
We're going off on a tangent now.
Thank God. This is what Slam and Stan is all about. Yeah, somehow we went from one of the most historic BWWE pay-per-views to Octagon and Fuerza Guerrera.
Well, I only caught the main event, so I can't really comment on the rest of the show.
In the main event...
The main event was all that. I mean, if you're going to buy the show, it's the main event that you want to watch. Because,
Exactly.
I mean, the build-up to it was so good. With CM Punk pretty much announcing he's leaving WWE. And then John Cena being threatened that he was going to get fired. That was just
I think
that was just great.
It had me turning on WWE and fast-forwarding my DVR to wherever I saw either Cena or Punk. I think this is one of the most brilliant things they've ever done.
Before we go further on this, did you catch the Raw?
Last Monday?
Yeah, the last Monday.
I DVR'd it, but I did not catch it.
They have a 14 women divas match.
What?
A 14 divas match. 7 women on each side. That only went like 30 seconds. But it was the worst 30 seconds of wrestling that you'll ever see in your life. Like, they had this one girl, I don't even know their names. It's I think it was Beth Phoenix versus one of the Latina girls. Mm-hmm. I can't remember which one it is. Well, the very first thing they do, she screws up the spot and it just falls apart. it's like, but you had like 14 women. It's like, oh great, this match is going to last how long? And they have 14 women.
Now, I could understand the divas accompanying a wrestler to the ring, eye candy. But whenever I hear about their matches, it's like...
They're dreadful, man.
Yeah, it's like WWE has this festering sore on their foot.
Yeah.
And it's killing them, but nobody says, hey, why don't you get rid of this festering sore on your foot? It'd be easy. You remove it just by having them be eye candy and don't have them try to wrestle.
Yeah. And the worst thing is Kelly's so horrible in the ring, too. She's great to look at, though, but...
Yeah, a lot of them are great to look at. But give me the Apaches any day.
Yeah.
Who can work.
Marcella or Amapola or the Japanese women.
Yes.
Manami Toyota.
Now, there's a piece of news I heard.
There are no Manami Toyotas.
Oh, God.
Oh, they had like 3 or 4 women that I'd never even seen. I guess they're on the SmackDown show. And it's like, who the hell? Where'd they get these 14 women? I mean, they were all awful. And apparently Dave Meltzer was saying that the one that I didn't know was actually one of the girls that can actually wrestle. Oh, and of course she didn't wrestle, so what's the point of having them?
So she's the cousin of Sin Cara. She will be Sin Nombre. We do not know her name. She is the woman without a name.
Yeah, what were you gonna say about
Well, I listened to a portion of the Figure 4 Daily with Cubs fan and Steve Sims. And Mickey James is getting quite the rave reviews from the Apaches.
Yeah.
Not so much. I'm not talking about from the fans,
Yeah.
but apparently she makes nice with the Apaches, which I did not realize before. I guess that's not the easiest thing to do.
They're pretty stiff with the American women. But I think it's more of a, they think that they're going to take their spot or something, whereas they don't really, it's not that they hate them or anything.
Right.
Well, some of them do suck. I mean, some of them do suck, and I assume it frustrates them when they, I assume as a wrestler, you're going to get frustrated if you're in there with a really crappy wrestler.
I would think so too.
Who botches a spot.
I wonder also if a newbie comes in, if there's sort of
jealousy.
Jealousy. I also wonder if there's like an old school thing of, well, if they can take my stiffness, they're okay by me. Because I remember when Fizzy and Dan and I gave Ultimo Dragon and Wally Yamaguchi a ride to Mexico, when we came back, we were talking about Negro Casas, and Ultimo Dragon, I guess he's the one who requested Negro Casas to do the Japan tours in 1990.
Wow.
And he said one of the things he loved about Negro Casas is, Negro Casas isn't a stiff worker, but he can adapt to a stiff worker if he needs to. And that was one of the things he said he respected about him. So I'm wondering if there's...
I'm guessing that's probably what it is. Where
the daughters of an old school wrestler, maybe
they've grown into that whole... Because I mean, the girls were like that too. I mean, remember Eddie used to be pretty hard with guys who weren't very good.
That's true.
He used to hit them a little bit harder than usual.
I remember Silver King smacking some people around.
Yeah, see. So back to the CM-Punk John Cena match.
Oh yeah, I heard they had a match.
Yeah, it was really good. I mean, I think it was a match of the year candidate. Might be the best match I've seen this year. And that says a lot, because I think Virus versus Girl Maya Jr. was really good.
Which I also did not see.
You haven't seen that? That is
LATV.
Oh, you didn't DVR. And the LATV version is poorly edited, and it still was really good.
Wow.
Which, I mean, because they were just coming up. Girl Maya Jr.'s on Black Terry's son, and he can work he's really good. And Virus is Virus, of course. So
I have to say, I have not seen any AAA for a while,
and don't miss it. You did not miss it and it's horrible right now.
I have to be honest. I could watch a AAA show from a couple of months ago and say, okay, I got my dose.
Yeah.
I do feel like I'm watching a similar show every week. I got to be honest. I'm really enjoying CML these days, and I'm really enjoying the guys who are up and comers.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying that more than the main events.
I think if you just get past the fact the politics, where you're just not thinking about, oh, this guy's not getting pushed, or this guy's being demoted because he's showed up at a WWE event. If you get away from that stuff, it's a good show. Yeah. And if you can get past the commercials too, and the editing, you're like, oh, there's a lot.
I'm getting sexually frustrated by watching those shake weight commercials over again.
Those things are so horrible, and they're so repetitive too. But I mean, so John Cena CM Punk was really good. I really dug the finish where it's like they were trying to do the Montreal screw job, except John Cena refused to do it.
Yes.
So he punched John Laurinaitis in the face. And
I bet that was cathartic for a lot of people in the dressing room.
Yeah, and John Laurinaitis, I mean, there's a guy who, I mean, how the hell did this guy stick around? And I mean, seriously, how did he move up and how did he get where he's at? Was he a booker in All Japan? He was like the main guy who booked guys in Japan, wasn't he, for a while?
That's what I understand. Did he have something to do with WCW?
Yeah, he was with WCW and did that, because I know he went from All Japan. I think he was like the main booker for the American guys. Mm-hmm. Then he used that to get into for WCW, where he moved up into WCW as one of the talent relation guys. And then all of a sudden he's in WWE as the main, replacing Jim Ross.
Well, I know he catches a lot of shit from a lot of people, and from
rightfully so, man.
Rightfully
look at all the women, how crappy they are.
Yeah, rightfully so. I will say that. However, if you want to know how to get a career, you might find his playbook somewhere and see what he's doing. Maybe he's the ultimate yes man.
He probably is.
Maybe he knows how to kiss up. I mean, he's probably next to Steve Lombardi. He's the longest employed.
Patterson's still there, isn't he?
Is he?
I think he's like what's it called? Somebody they talk to, one of those.
Oh, so he gets to hang out.
Yeah, if they need help or ideas.
That's cool. I'm if they're taking care
advisor,
of him.
He's an advisor,
cool.
one of those.
Well, somebody who's worked and has been so loyal to them. I hope they're taking care of him because
Yeah, but I just thought it was so good. Him getting punched was probably like the highlight of the whole thing.
almost like they know there's a small percentage of people watching the pay-per-view who are sheet readers, and they know that it'll be like Christmas time for everybody who's read about John Laurinaitis.
And then they had Del Rio try to take the belt afterwards, but he gets kicked in the face, and CM Punk gets away. Of course, it's his hometown. The crowd was very pro CM Punk.
That is
you
awesome.
Still had a lot of women and kids rooting for John Cena though. So I mean, there was a lot of people were saying that it was like mostly CM Punk, but there was still some people rooting for John Cena.
Yeah, John Cena reminds me of Kiss in the 1970s. I think it was either 1976 or 1977.
What a comparison right there.
Yeah.
They're completely different.
Well, the reason I say so, though, is I know Gene Simmons, Kiss, they're regarded as legends right now, but in the mid-70s, they were simultaneously the most loved and most hated rock group.
Yeah.
People either worshiped the ground they spit fire on, or they absolutely detested them and hated them. Now it's more middle ground.
Yeah.
But that's kind of John Cena. A lot of people are like, oh God, do we have to see this guy again? I think other people love him.
I think it's more that like in the 80s when wrestling there wasn't as many WWE TV shows, and when there were, they weren't putting Hulk Hogan on every show. It was like an interview or highlights of Hulk Hogan. Like, here, let's take a look at Hulk Hogan in Madison Square Garden. It wasn't him like on every show. Mm-hmm. And John Cena has to be on Raw every single week to make it work. That's
a very good point.
And it's like, I think people are tired of seeing him because he's on, he wrestles, and then they have him wrestle like the same guy over and over. Like, let's have John Cena versus Randy Orton for the 50th time,
And then we'll have them on a pay-per-view.
Yeah, and then a pay-per-view, and you guys will pay $55 for this match. John Cena's gonna win, and even if he loses, he's gonna get the belt back the next day.
Exactly.
Or he'll get he's in the next pay-per-view as a main event.
Which I think justifies why we don't pay $45 for pay-per-views.
Is it $45 or $55 now?
Probably $55
Yeah, I'm
now.
guessing because I think they've kind of figured out a way to do like combine HD TV, HD and standard definition where it's like the same price.
I love neglecting to watch pay-per-views. It's like one of my hobbies.
Well, there's no reason to watch it half the time because whatever's going to happen is going to get rescinded in Raw, so it's like, why watch it?
Yeah, and if it's as mind-blowing as this last Sunday's is, if I really want it, well, I can buy it again, or,
You get it illegally.
Yeah, I guess I could do that.
But you won't do that. You could always just order the pay-per-view on, or you could get the DVD at some point.
That's true.
From Netflix.
And that would be just as enjoyable, and I'll get it in a nice package.
For like $20.
And when I get tired of it,
it's even cheaper too. You get it on DVD.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it?
Yeah. So crazy.
The economical way to follow pro wrestling.
So like, what was I gonna say? But the announcing, that's one thing I have to mention. WWE's announcing is so horrible on these pay-per-views. They added Booker T to the announce crew.
Really?
And he's really awful. I mean, he's no Stevie Ray in announcing, you know what I mean? It's like Stevie Ray at least came up with the axe, came up with like all these other like funny catchphrases you could like make fun of. But like Booker T is trying to like come up with like stuff that like he just makes stuff up, and it's like, okay, it's
kind of like he should do a little bit of Gordon Soley style homework and just
get
it honed before actually doing a paper.
Yeah, then like you have Jerry Lawler like just calling him out and everything, like, what? Like he's just like, what are you talking about? And then Michael Cole is so bad. There was a spot, I know Dave Meltzer was mentioning how there's a spot where CM Punk tried to do like people like thought it was an anaconda vice or something, and that was like, I have no idea what he was talking about in that. But there was a spot where CM Punk goes for a top rope Frankensteiner, and Michael Cole says top rope, and that's it.
Oh no.
And it's like, okay, dude, just say Frankensteiner. I mean, you could say Frankensteiner. I'm pretty sure people aren't going to like, or Hurricane Rana if it's like, and you can't say Steiner on the show or whatever. And it's like, he just stops, like top rope. And I'm like, okay, that kind of annoyed me.
Yeah.
But, the match was great though.
Well, I do have to check it out. Something you brought up just a little while ago in regards to CMLL, you brought up something really, I think a lot of us who really followed the business should step back and just enjoy the scenery. It's easy to get caught up in the politics, the backstories, all that, those stories are fascinating. They're fun to read about.
Yeah.
But if you read into them too much, like you say...
It just ruins the fun.
Exactly. And sometimes I think it's good to turn on the TV, let your mind just kind of leave the whole political realm, and enjoy Roosh.
Yeah, seriously.
And I have to say, I dig Roosh.
He's awful. Come on.
He is, but I like him.
He's got a look though. He's got presence and everything. He's got a look, and he's actually gone through. He's gone long enough where I'm not worried about him breaking his arm. Although he'll break it. He'll break it at some point. But I mean, he's actually, and he's going to be a good heel at some point.
Yeah, I think
he's got a heel look to him.
He seems like somebody. He is not a great wrestler, but he strikes me as somebody who has passion for what he does.
Yeah.
He's into it. And I've said this on recent shows, maybe I'm going into second childhood at a very early age, but that's one of the things I dug watching wrestling when I was a child. Yeah, I could tell if there was what you would call a 5-star match, if Raul Mata and Kim Sung-ho had this total kick-ass match. I knew that was special, but that's not why I was watching it. It's the heels who were very good at being heels, the baby faces who were just these totally lovable baby faces.
Yeah.
It's fun to see wrestlers who exude passion rather than going through a series of high spots and then they look bored as hell, like, okay, I just did a bunch of high spots, hope people like it.
See, I think that's what's so good about what I like about CM Punk. You could tell he's into wrestling. It's not like a dirty word for him to actually want to have a good match. It's okay for him to have a good match, and at the same time he can enjoy working. He could work a trios match with Alberto Del Rio and The Miz versus Kofi Kingston and all these other guys, and they'll find ways to have fun. It's not a drag for them to be on the show.
Exactly, and that's why I think one of the things that just makes it fun is when the wrestlers in there, when you can tell that they take pride in it and are enjoying it.
Well, see, that's the thing. That's the thing about John Cena. I think he's that type of person too. But for some reason, people just hate him. Guys hate him because I think the way guys hate baby faces, basically.
Especially if women like him.
Yeah. If kids and women like him, odds are they're going to hate him.
Yeah. The only grudge I have with him is the T-shirts over the past year. It makes me want to go buy a box of peanut butter crunch.
That's
all I can think of.
The orange T-shirt. The purple one was all right.
Purple one was cool.
Yeah, that was a Laker jersey, the Laker shirt.
That made me want to go buy a box of Quisp, if they still make Quisp, or Frankenberry.
You're showing your age now.
I am. Boy, nobody's going to know what I refer to.
Yeah, so, but after that, after that match ended, basically we had CM Punk leaving WWE with the belt, and John Cena getting fired, basically. He was going to get fired the next day, which was apparently something that they decided not to do because they realized nobody believes them. Nobody buys it for one second.
They might be wising up. They just might be wising up. I'm not going to get my hopes up, but
I think they couldn't do it just because they just did that last year, and it didn't work. How long did they? And I thought if they would have fired John Cena last year after the Nexus thing, that would have been the greatest thing ever. Just for a few months.
That would have been great. Plus, he would have been away for a while. People would have gotten a breath of fresh air. Another good point you bring up. When they're on TV every week, nobody's going to be hungry to see them.
The sad thing is that they don't have any guy. Did you see the tournament? Who they had in the tournament? They don't have anybody that you really want to watch.
In fact, it almost reminds me of the CMLL tournaments. It's the second-tier guys.
Yeah, it's the second-tier guys, basically. Because right now, CM Punk is storyline. He's out. John Cena's out. Big Show's injured, and I don't consider Big Show a main event guy, but he's still a name.
Yes.
Chris Jericho's gone. And I can't remember who. Triple H is not wrestling right now. The Undertaker's not wrestling. Shawn Michaels just retired, too. So basically, you have all these other guys. These are just guys who retired within the last 3 years, basically. And you have guys like Alberto Del Rio, who is a star, but then you the drop-off, like Kofi Kingston, The Miz. Miz is actually a guy that they kind of screwed up. Because I actually think he has main event potential.
Yeah, see, there's several guys that I really think belong up there, but they got gun shy when it was time to push
Yeah.
them, or they totally screwed up
Yeah.
the push and made them look like dorks.
Alex Riley, I don't think is a main eventer. I mean, he just doesn't have the look, and he doesn't wrestle that well where he's the main event guy.
I have to plead ignorance. I have not seen.
Yeah, you don't even. You're like, who the hell's Alex Riley?
I know who he is, but
But R-Truth, I think he's catching on with the little Jimmy thing and all that stuff. And I've always been a fan of his, going back to when he was in Georgia doing the Wild Side shows, and he did AAA. But I mean, they keep like screwing up with him for some reason. I don't know what it is, but they don't like give him a shot. He's kind of like in that middle place where he's like, people like him because he's funny.
yeah, he's almost like a middle of the road Titan SNL ring character. He sings on the way to the ring. He does funny stuff.
He's kind of like that. He could be Intercontinental Champion. He could be U.S. Champion, but he can't be the World Champion, and that's sad because he could actually. I actually think he's an entertaining character.
I think so too.
And then Rey Mysterio's still a main event guy, but the whole thing is that he's so small that he's just a transition champion basically. If he ever wins the title, he's going to be a transition guy. Alberto Del Rio is the only guy who I think is a main event guy.
And I'm wondering whether they're going to pull the trigger on that one.
Yeah, and how are they going to do it?
Yes.
Because he does have money in the bank. And Daniel Bryan's the other guy who's in SmackDown,
I was very happy to hear they put him over.
Yeah, the only thing is I don't know how they're going to make him a main event guy because he just doesn't have that look to him. He's a great worker though. I mean, that's his one strength.
Well, if there's some secret masked man who's on the booking committee who came up with the whole CM Punk thing,
yeah,
maybe, just maybe, there's hope for other guys like Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, because I mean, they did it. They've done it before with like guys like the guy we can't mention who
Yes.
who murdered his family. Eddie Guerrero. The only difference is I think people would compare him to Eddie Guerrero, but Eddie Guerrero had charisma.
Oh,
he had tons of charisma. Just took a while for them to figure it out.
Every now and then, I'll think back to Eddie Guerrero matches, both WWE, WCW, and I just think, what a complete wrestler that guy was. That guy had everything.
Yeah, it's sad he passed away.
It really is on so many levels.
How old would he be right now? Like early 40s, right?
Probably early 40s.
He'd still be wrestling.
He would be.
He'd probably still be wrestling.
Oh, he strikes me as somebody who would have been wrestling till he could not walk.
Well, that's it. That basically what happened.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
Vicky Guerrero, that's the guy I think could be a main eventer. Dolph Ziggler.
Yes.
I think with Vicky Guerrero, they have a nice act where he could be a main eventer, but he's kind of small in the small side.
And who would have thought Vicky Guerrero took her role like a fish to water? I mean, okay, now
Ricardo Rodriguez is back too.
I heard people were pretty jazzed.
Yeah.
I heard he's still shining.
Yeah.
Now, no matter what they do with the whole CM Punk storyline from this point on, Observer Awards, as always, come at the end of the year. Do you think there's going to be a lot of CM Punk on Wrestler of the Year ballot for this?
If he comes back and it's a draw,
So you think it's contingent?
If it draws, I think he will.
Okay.
I think he is automatically just because I don't think there's anything in Japan that's really that hot right now.
Right.
And then in Mexico, I don't think there's enough people who watch Lucha Libre from the Observer group.
Yes.
That's gonna win unless you consider LA Park.
Although I was a little shocked.
And Averno.
The year Eddie Guerrero and Chavo Guerrero won Tag Team of the Year, Rey Bucanero and Ultimo Guerrero were behind them by just a smidgen, like a couple of points.
Yeah, but I think there was a stronger Lucha group.
You think they've dropped off since then?
I think they've had some people. I don't know. I mean, that's what I think. There might be some more. I think now that people, like with Dr. Lucha and all these guys doing podcasts, I think there's more people who are starting to get back into Lucha again. So there might be. I mean, I think LA Park has a shot at Wrestler of the Year.
That would actually.
I think Averno has a shot at it too. I mean, I don't know.
Would be a good pick. I think he'd be a good pick.
I don't think he's going to win it, but I mean, ever since he's dropped the mask, I mean, he's been really good.
That's one of those examples where you can gain by losing.
Yeah. The only problem for him is that they don't draw that well. But I mean, because they run so many times in that same building, they're never gonna.
That's true.
They're never gonna draw like they used to, like just because everything's televised too.
Yeah, it's not the glory days, definitely.
And they don't have a top baby face right now too. So
now the uncomfortable news of Sin Cara.
Well, we gotta talk about Vince first.
Oh yes, okay.
Because as bad as I thought the whole thing with John Cena, I figured they weren't gonna fire him.
Right.
We all figured that wasn't gonna happen. They did give us the big surprise that was Vince McMahon getting fired at the end of Raw by Triple H.
Which was a trip.
Yeah, which was actually great. With Vince is such a great actor.
Oh, he is.
Like, he just started crying and everything. Like, and then I guess it was like his way of like saying like, I guess what Dave was saying was his way of like, if it really does get to the point where he's going to finally
handing the baton.
Yeah, that's going to be how he reacts to the whole situation.
That's very good. Well, one thing he understands is when you're the heel, he knows that the heel is supposed to get his in the end.
Of course, next week you know what's going to happen. He's going to show up into Titantron, and he's going to be like, "I'm coming back with the New World Order," and we're going to get Kevin Nash, Scott Hall back again, and Sean Waltman.
X-Pac.
We're going to have Scott Hall show up, and you've seen Scott Hall recently, right?
No, I haven't.
No,
I've
it's
heard.
sad. It's sad.
See, that's the thing. I've heard the recent stories, and
he's just not himself anymore.
What a tragedy.
The old world order, more like it.
Yeah.
But they could, I mean, see what I was thinking, like, and this is where he screwed up. This is where they kind of screwed up killing WCW completely. Because I know everybody says, oh, ECW and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. But I mean, if they would have kept WCW still had a pretty good fan base. And if they would have said, hey, let's just give WCW, the fans who follow WCW, what they wanted, which was wrestling.
Yes.
That's the whole thing. When Kevin Nash and Vince Russo and all those other guys started, like, and Eric Bischoff started, when WCW started to fall apart, that's because they stopped giving us wrestling.
Yeah.
They started giving us all these stupid storylines.
Retarded storylines, which are just recycling on TNA to the nth power. And, okay, if you...
How much money does the Dixie Carter have? I mean, seriously.
If you went to a business student who knows nothing about pro wrestling, and you handed them a copy of Brian Alvarez's The Death of WCW, and they read it, do you think they'd believe it?
I know, seriously. How did they lose all that money, too? I mean, it's...
And at one point, amazing. They were ahead. They were top of the world.
I think that's just Eric Bischoff was just a complete idiot.
But, I mean, okay, I don't know the business world, and I know there was the trend of businesses that ride high and crash fast, just because of, how do you say... like the .com trend in the late 90s. It just oversaturation, and they all went to hell. That's a natural business thing.
Yeah.
But are there businesses that just become wildly successful, just rake in the dough, and then because of sheer incompetence and stupidity crash that hard?
Well, see, the weird thing is, like, when you have a business, and like with .coms and all the internet businesses, mm-hmm. the best thing to do is, as soon as you get to a certain level, you sell it to somebody else. Yes. And you make millions or billions of dollars. That's what Mark Cuban did. That's what Google did. I'm guessing Facebook is going to do that at some point, unless they don't. I mean, unless they're crazy and they keep thinking that they're going to. Because I mean, now there's Google Plus. Sooner or later, there's going to be somebody else who's going to come up with some other social networking idea that's going to take over Facebook. I mean, Facebook took over for MySpace. Did you hear how much MySpace sold for?
No.
For $30 million.
Really?
Which isn't a lot.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
Considering MySpace used to be like a...
It used to be the main daddy.
Yeah, and that only got... And, I mean, Mark Cuban, what he used... I think he did one of those audio services. He went from that, sold that right away. He had employees who became millionaires just from that sale.
Amazing.
He's got employees who are millionaires, right?
Wow.
That could retire. They didn't have to keep doing the .com stuff. And look at him. He's doing HDTV. He owns the Mavericks. He owns all this other stuff. He still has money in the bank. I mean, people want him to buy the Dodgers, which would be like the savior for us.
Yes.
Considering how bad the Dodgers are. So with WCW, I think it's just like Eric Bischoff was just I think he was somebody who came in from a certain part of, like, because he was a business guy too. Mm-hmm. But I think that was Sonny Ono more the business end of it.
Oh, okay.
Whereas Bischoff was more of a marketing type of guy.
Yes.
And I think what happened was like he saw this company that has so much money that he just figured, oh, you know what? We're never going to lose all the money. They're going to keep piling it in. We'll just, it's a debt, big deal. They could lose it at some point. But it got to the point where they're just getting rid. They were losing so much more that it just fell apart.
Wow.
I mean, how much did Vince spend on it? Like $1 million?
It was something cheap.
The tape library alone would have brought back WCW.
Wow.
That's where that was the biggest mistake. That and I think AOL was the one that sold it, right? AOL or Time Warner.
Yes.
Yeah, one of them sold it. And I mean, they would have made back all their money just on the WCW DVDs.
And if Ted Turner never,
or he could have kept it. Ted Turner probably could have said, "Hey, you know what?
Wasn't Ted Turner out of power by then?"
Yeah, but he could have said, "Hey, you know, you guys sell me the WCW stuff if you don't want it." Because I mean, I'm pretty sure, just based off of whatever they made off the WCW stuff, that's where WW made a ton of money off of that. Mm-hmm. They probably made back like 100 times whatever they spent on.
So maybe if I work for the county of Orange long enough, they'll sell it to somebody and I'll become a millionaire.
Yeah, maybe you will.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Only in Orange County would that happen.
Yeah, so I think that had he not like screwed up the whole WCW thing, he could say, "Hey, I'm gonna form WCW." With CM Punk as the champ, you know, they could have had a bidding war for CM Punk, but I mean, I don't think that's going to happen. I figure they're going to start the Triple H is going to try to bring back CM Punk type of storyline.
It'll be interesting to see where they go, not only with that but the booking in general. If because it'll be much different.
I think that's going to be the match: Triple H versus CM Punk.
That'd be interesting.
Where Triple H is going to like first thing he's going to try to do is he's going to want to bring him back. Because that was Vince's mistake, and Triple H is going to be like, "I'm a businessman" or something like that. You know, because he wasn't the one involved.
Gotcha.
But remember, CM Punk's playing the cool baby face where he's going to be a badass, and he's not going to come back that easily.
He's kind of like a toned down Stone Cold Steve Austin.
So basic
cerebral Stone Cold Steve.
Yeah, and Triple H is now going to be the Vince character.
Ah.
So I think that's going to end up being the next feud.
Be interesting.
I think that wouldn't be that bad. I'm thinking that's going to happen. I don't know if anybody else is thinking that, but that's what I'm thinking.
Well, that'd be a milestone if they can get something fascinating enough where I say, okay, I have $45 I'm willing to put down.
Because I think that would actually sell well. Triple H versus CM Punk, considering Triple H hasn't wrestled in about the last several months. So if you do that at Survivor Series or at WrestleMania, that'll do pretty well. They don't need it for WrestleMania though. WrestleMania, they could probably book WrestleMania like a CMLL show where it's like the one main event and people will pay how much is WrestleMania anyways?
I have no clue.
Appreciate it.
I've seen the last couple of WrestleManias, but it's all their WrestleMania parties.
And we never ask how much they spend.
We just bring a 6-pack of soda or chips or something.
Yeah, we always figure out they pay for it.
What nice friends we have.
Yeah, we're so evil. Yeah, but I mean, I think I don't think Vince is done though. I think they'll bring him back.
Well, no, I mean, if he wanted to, he could just do whatever he damn well pleases.
Yeah.
But,
he's probably going to...
Meltzer and Alvarez said something very interesting, how for years he functioned on 4 and 5 hours of sleep a day for years on end, and suddenly now he's like burning out on that. I guess he's still...
Well, he's old now, so...
Yeah, he's a lot older. I guess he still has 4 to 5 hour sleep nights, but what did they say? He's starting to have days where he has to sleep all day just to recoup sometimes.
Oh, wow.
So,
he's at every taping, right? Like even SmackDown.
I honestly don't know.
He's one of those hands-on.
Oh no, I mean, he's like probably the ultimate workaholic.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if even he's starting to get a little burnt out. I mean, I don't think he'd ever be content taking his hands off the toys to the max, but.
So that's how they got out of not firing John Cena, but now they might fire Sin Cara.
Yes.
the John Cena of Mexico.
Wellness violation. We haven't heard of a wellness violation in a while, and it would have to be Sin Cara, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Maybe he needed to jump over that trampoline. He wasn't getting enough height lift off the trampoline, so he's taking steroids to get...
That's right, taking steroids, snort a little something.
I actually have an update on that. Sin Cara was interviewed by Record Magazine, and apparently he says it was a medication he was taking for an injection he took for his knee.
Really?
Yeah, so he says he doesn't think he's going to talk to Vince on Monday, I guess, or tomorrow or something.
Well, and the way they exited him was in the ladder match. They had Sheamus injure him.
I saw that. It's a clip on YouTube. So
okay,
yeah.
so well,
That's
so
all.
at least at that time, it sounded like they were having the possibility he's injured.
Yeah,
He'll come back to get Sheamus.
but there's some people who think he might be fired. So.
Yeah, there's some people who seem pretty adamant that he's gone.
Yeah.
I'm very curious. Yeah, we've heard a lot of stories about him having an attitude of sorts.
Yeah, he does have a bit of an attitude. But the thing is, like now, if he does get fired, where's he going? TNA.
That would be interesting.
If he went to TNA, he's gonna. Well, the only good thing is he doesn't speak English, so he wouldn't. Maybe he doesn't understand enough of it, or he wouldn't. He wouldn't worry about it. I
don't understand how bad it sucks.
I don't know how bad. I don't. Yeah, he doesn't understand. He's like, seeing Cara, you have to go out with you got to do a skit with the beautiful people or whatever.
That's
and
right.
I don't know.
Well, as long as they have my trampoline.
Yeah.
So I wonder what they'll call him. Will they call him Con Cara?
Or Mystico. They can't call him
Yes.
Mystico. They can't call him Mystico because CMLL.
That's what I thought. I thought CMLL...
He's gonna have to come up with a third name in like less than a year.
That'd be kind of cool. I've done that in the past.
I mean, he could go to AAA and CMLL, but I mean, the bad thing for him, he's so screwed up with CMLL because AAA isn't a small guy promotion. It's a big guy promotion. He's basically he could. I mean, the only thing is he's a big name.
Yeah, they'd be booking him on his laurels.
Yes.
It's not that they would be booking him to push him because they want to push him.
Because, I mean, really, the only guys you could have him work on... I mean, the only good thing is they have Dr. Wagner, LA Park he could work with. But then you're talking about, like, who else does he work with of the big guys in CM and AAA? I mean, he can't work with the TNA guys. Can't work with Jeff Jarrett. I don't think Jeff Jarrett versus Mystico is going to be that interesting.
No, I really think you have to have somebody he can work with, which is why I hope Averno does get his shot in there. One, because he'll make more money.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see what he would do there if they... Because it sounded like they had hopes for Mystico. It sounded like they were really wanting to make it work.
Well, they sell a lot of merchandise off him, so...
Which could be another possibility if
I think
they
he's staying.
do keep him.
I think he's staying. I don't think they're going to get rid of him that
I'm
quickly.
wondering myself, too. I know everybody is so... They sound so certain that he's gone, but I wonder.
And then you have Averno, who's basically waiting for it. He's playing the waiting game. So I get, that I was thinking about this when that happened. I go, well, at least this gets the Cubs fan, Dr. Lucha, Dave Meltzer, Super Luchas, and all these people off the hook because now they have their excuse as to why Averno hasn't left CMLL. Sin Cara failed the drug test.
You had to go screw it up, didn't you, Sin Cara?
But poor Averno. I mean, how do you react to this? It's like he's probably calling Sin Cara, what the fuck did you just do?
If we read in the newspaper, Bleach Blonde beats up Masked Man in airport in Denver, we'll know who it was. We'll know Averno has a passport.
The only good thing is Averno's been very professional. He's always been a professional.
Well, and that's the thing, is when I hear about... I heard that about him, that he's very professional, bilingual, can... is just... has a really good work ethic, and I'd hate for...
See, the worst case scenario, he stays in CMLL. He made a couple bucks off of his mask.
Yes.
So he's already ahead of and he's already a cooler heel than he was with the mask.
True.
I mean, who would have thought he was? I mean, that's the only thing. When guy drops his mask, you always worry what he's going to look like.
Yes.
Because some of these guys can look like absolute.
Fuerza Guerrera is the one guy who would look cooler than any wrestler on the roster without his mask.
Yeah.
The dude looks like a buccaneer. The dude looks like a pirate.
He's older now, so...
Yeah, that's probably true.
He's probably going to look like Blue Panther.
He's one of those guys where I wondered years ago why he didn't drop the mask. He actually would be more charismatic without it. Well, I didn't think Alberto Del Rio would be a hit without the mask, but he's a bigger hit than he could ever be with a mask.
Well, I think we had a sense he wasn't an ugly guy when Superboy said he was a good looking guy. So
that's right.
I think we had already heard somebody say that
he had movie star looks.
Yeah. Plus, sometimes depending on the mask the guy's wearing, you can kind of tell what the guy looks like underneath the mask. So you can kind of tell who's kind of good looking, who's kind of ugly.
That's true.
Especially when they rip it off.
I've known people who, if there's a wrestler under the mask who's, wrestled in another territory, I've known people who can tell right away who's under the mask.
Yeah.
I cannot to save the life of me. But I remember they put Mickey Doyle under a mask in L.A. under the name Piel Blanco.
Uh-huh.
For those of you out there who don't speak Spanish, that means white skin. Lot of work went into that one. But he had a full body costume on, a mask. I knew it was Mickey Doyle ahead of time. But one of the fans in the front row, just one of the yokels, one of the fans we used to laugh at, 2 minutes into the mask says, "Go get him, Mickey Doyle!"
You can tell right away. I mean,
yeah, there's a lot of people who do it. I like I said before, I have my father's what he calls facial dyslexia, where I have to see somebody's face.
Yeah, you can't even tell. You can't even remember people you saw like last week.
Yeah, I was gifted with my father's absent-mindedness and his facial dyslexia, but I was not gifted with his brilliant mind for nuclear physicists. The guy can do quantum mechanics in his head without pen, notebook, anything. I only get the silly parts.
Yeah, So I don't think, I think he'll be all right. I mean, I think he'll end up in WWE at some point. But
I hope so. Yeah, I'm crossing my fingers for that guy.
So let's talk about CMLL really quick.
Well, like I said earlier, I am really, really enjoying CMLL these days. And
You missed like the last couple of weeks.
I did.
Don't lie, Kurt. You haven't been watching.
No, I skipped a few weeks, but I started watching this past week. And for a while, this is rare for me. For several weeks, I was watching religiously.
Yeah.
And it's the second tier guys I'm digging. I really dig Stuka Jr.
Yeah.
What is the name of that move he does? The plancha off the turnbuckle.
Oh, the one he does like with no. He's just putting his hands. It's like a bullet.
That is
plancha.
A beautiful move.
Yeah.
And what's funny is, he's named after a German fighting plane.
And he's a junior, too.
He's a junior, yes.
There was a Stuka before that.
And the Stuka plane...
And the Stuka before that was really good, too.
In fact, I remember he was on some local LA shows in 1993.
Yeah.
And it was after he went through, some really rough times, and he was still just phenomenal. Yeah. I mean, he's one of those guys who could do anything in his sleep. Yeah. The guy was just an awesome worker. But the Stuka plane... The plancha he does is similar to the way the Stuka plane would do dive bombing.
Wow,
that sort
really?
of thing. So it's like they're actually following the history of the...
yeah, he's really cool. I've been a fan of his since he was like in Monterey and all that stuff.
I hope they
keep
pushing
really good.
him. I like him.
Well, he's what he's good. He's good as like one of the trio guys. Like you put him in a trio and he's like the cool guy. He's the cool worker.
Yes.
But then there's always that one guy that's going to move ahead of him, and then there's the other guy who's going to drop below him. So he's like the middle ground. That's what Stuka Jr. is.
And that's no crime in that.
How about Valiente? You like Valiente?
I like Valiente immensely.
Ray Cometa?
Ray Cometa I'm not as familiar with.
You haven't watched Ray Cometa versus Hijo del Signo?
No, I have not.
If you watch that, watch Hijo del Signo. Tell me he doesn't remind you of Enigma de Oro, like when he was younger.
Really?
He works like the heel kind of, like, because he's got the skinny looking arms with the barrel chest.
Now, was he on this past weekend's show?
It was, they had Hijo del Signo versus Ray Cometa like about 2 weeks ago. Really good match. It was a lightning match. It was 10 minutes. They ended in a draw.
And I'm digging those lightning matches. There's something. I mean, I know it's something they've been doing since the beginning of time, but it seems like they've been spotlighting them more than they used to. And they're good quality matches too.
Yeah, sometimes they'll screw it up, but lately they've been doing really good ones.
Yeah, and, the tournaments actually are fascinating now. Where I remember when we used to go to Tijuana 20-something years ago, we'd just go on a Friday and say, let's just go to Tijuana to see the wrestling. Our faces would go into sad mode when we got the flyer and it said, tournament! That would mean you'd have these lame-ass matches and the wrestlers were just trying to get through
5 minutes and it was over and they
5 minutes and rest holds.
Yeah.
On a lucha show of all things.
No, and these guys, what they do is like they'll if it's a 5-minute match, somebody's gonna do a tope. Yeah. That 10-minute match with Ray Cometa and Hijo Signo, what ends up happening is at the very end, as the clock runs out, Ray Cometa hits his tornillo to the outside. Like the bell rings and he just still does it anyways. He's like, fuck this.
That's great.
I'm gonna do it anyways.
Spotlight myself.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna do this. Well, he's there was a rumor that he was thinking of leaving CMLL and going back to AAA. Mm-hmm. And I'm like thinking, why go back to AAA? You're basically just gonna be in the same spot you were in CMLL, because he was in AAA before.
Yes.
And he was in the same spot he would be leaving CMLL to go to. AAA would be the same thing he was doing before.
And there's some guys who should be... I mean, it's probably harder...
He's really talented.
It's probably harder when you're actually in the mix, but I think there's some guys who should be content, like you say, being in the middle.
Well, the thing is, like, I think he's talented. Like, if you watch that match, mm-hmm. you would watch it and you'd be like, how is this guy not even higher in the card?
Right.
Like, he should be actually higher in the card. But there's so many guys in CMLL. Like, you haven't seen Guerrero Maya Jr.?
No, I have not.
He's really good. Well, he's the one I was telling you about with Virus, the match of the year. And then there's Palacio Negro, Metal
Who
Blanco.
I've seen, who I like.
Yeah.
I like Palacio Negro.
He's a little bit of a Rob Van Dam fan. So
Yeah.
he does all the Rob Van Dam spots.
Now, it's actually with embarrassment to admit why I have not been watching CMLL. It's because we had so many episodes of Breaking Bad on our DVR.
Did you finish it already, or?
We're not finished, but we've had 3 marathon sections where we watched 4 episodes.
Did you watch it? Did you watch it the last time we spoke?
Yes, we are at the part where the twins are involved.
Aren't they awesome? The twins.
They are great. They are so creepy.
Is it? Did they show? I don't remember when they introduced the twins. Was it when the old guy?
The first sight of the twins
was with the old guy.
When they get in their hands and knees and they're crawling toward the altar.
Yeah.
With all the villagers, that's the first sight we see of them. There's a lot of disturbing people in the series Breaking Bad, but these 2 guys are creepy.
You haven't seen the season premiere for the season 4, right?
No, we have not.
It is awesome.
Okay, I'm looking forward.
Gus is really bad.
This is for all of those of you who have not seen Breaking Bad. Go to Netflix.
Watch it.
Can you stream it, or do you have to just get the disc?
Some shows they'll stream, some shows they won't. I think they do stream on Breaking Bad.
This rivals almost any other TV series I've seen on Showtime or HBO or AMC. This is just an awesome, well-told story. Plus, Bryan Cranston, who plays the lead...
Walt.
He is... he was the guy who played the wacky father in Malcolm in the Middle. It's so weird to see him playing such a morose, sad character. And the kid who plays Jesse, I think, is such an awesome actor.
Yeah. And then all the other characters in it, like Sal.
Yes.
Sal, Gus.
Yes, Saul Goodman. Call
Saul Goodman.
It's a well-told story.
The kid, his son, I mean, is a pretty good actor, too.
He is.
Is he really...
I don't know where I heard this, but I heard he actually does have.
Yeah, I think he
condition,
is. Yeah,
the physical malady that he has.
What's the illness?
I have no idea what it is.
Muscular dystrophy. I don't know.
I don't know what it is. But everybody from Sal to the brother-in-law.
Yeah.
And it's, a lot of turns where you see the characters in different lights.
Yeah, where you think finally they're going to turn the page and be a good guy. All of a sudden he's a villain again.
Exactly, and even the most noble characters. Have ethical dilemmas and...
The brother-in-law.
Yes.
It's recovering and all that.
It's real...
I probably shouldn't say more.
I can't say too much more because I have not seen
he hasn't seen it. He hasn't seen the twins. The twins are going to... The twins... I probably won't spoil... I shouldn't spoil it.
I won't say any more.
Now...
I saw the appearance of Danny Trejo, which was really cool.
I guess we'll go back to wrestling. So
I guess we'll go back to wrestling.
I can spoil wrestling. That's fine.
CMLL. I advise anybody to keep watching.
Yeah.
CMLL for the longest time as much as I liked the wrestlers in it, the TV was lame. They could ditch some of those commercials, and there are some improvements, but so far in the last 3 months, I have not watched a show where I haven't walked away saying, "Oh boy, that sucked." There's always something worth watching, and like I said, the shows did not tape because I had so many episodes of Breaking Bad on my DVR that the series recordings were nixed. So I mixed several weeks, but
and commercials. it just kills the show, though.
That's why I love having DVR. Is I see the shake weight. I put it into super hyper motion by fast forwarding through.
I wish television would just say, you know what? Let's just do a 90-minute show, because it's only an hour 5 minutes long half the time, or an hour 12 minutes, or it's usually between an hour 5 minutes to an hour 20 minutes. The show.
So it's like you get a little nibble and then it's gone.
And then it's like, and it's not even an hour 20 minutes anymore, because it's 2 hours long. You're basically getting like 50 minutes of commercials now, and it's like, I mean, get rid of some of the commercials. I mean, 7-minute commercial breaks.
Yes.
They just gotta get rid of that stuff. That's ridiculous. But the show's great. I mean, the LA TV show is pretty good too. They edit it pretty shitty, but
yes,
you can't really complain.
From what I've seen recently, I do agree with that.
Yeah, they edit it really bad.
Well, I guess that might be a good place to...
We should probably talk about Al Madril.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
We take requests.
Yeah, we do take requests.
When it comes to talking about wrestlers. If anybody ever wants to ask us about specific wrestlers to talk about, they could email Kurt.
And Liger, that's spelled Lyger at AOL.com.
Or they could actually just Facebook...
Yeah,
post it on our Facebook page, or on any either of our. If you friend us,
yeah, there's there's 2 Slammin' Stand pages on Facebook.
There's your Facebook page. There's my Facebook page.
We are Los Gemelos Diablo. We have twin Facebook pages.
We friend practically everybody. So
exactly.
So basically, yeah, you could ask us to talk about any particular wrestler, and one of our main listeners. One of our favorite listeners, Scott, asked us to talk about Al Madril.
Alberto Madril.
Who we actually have seen.
Well, what's interesting is we've seen him in totally different settings. In the last few years of the Los Angeles promotion, he was one of the top baby faces, if I recall, from early 1979 till spring of 1981, when he lost a Lose Relief Town to Mike Masters.
Mike Masters.
Mean Mike Masters. Well, there's a little comical backstory on that. LA TV, since they were past their glory days, there was no live TV. And it got to the point where they would tape interviews for like the next 4 weeks. So, Alberto Madril in 1981 had a feud with Ox Baker, which was going to lead to a Lose Relief Town that Ox Baker was going to win. So they taped a series of interviews leading up to that match. And then they taped post-match interviews. And one of them included, I believe it was Tom Pritchard, who was Al Madril's tag team partner, who after the fact said, Ox Baker, I'm so angry at you for, running my friend Al Madril out of town, and I will get back to you. The problem is, a few weeks before the match, Ox Baker, I guess, tired of those wonderful Mike LaBelle payoffs, decided to leave the territory.
Oh, God.
So Friday night came, and there was a Lose Relief Town match, Mike Masters versus Al Madril. Mike Masters won, and the next day, Tom Pritchard was mad at Ox Baker.
So they didn't announce that Mike Masters beat Al Madril? Oh,
they never corrected.
Wow.
They never corrected things. We had all these theories. We always thought
Mike LaBelle was ahead of his time, if you think about it. Just stuff suddenly happening is perfect for wrestling nowadays. I mean, TNA does it all the time. WWE does it all the time.
That's true. Maybe I'm giving him. Maybe he was actually a prophet of some kind.
Yeah, I mean that's how wrestling runs nowadays. So
yeah, well, and it just showed how low the company had become, how hard it had fallen. They still had some decent workers.
Yeah.
They had Tom Pritchard, Tim Talltree, who was the greatest worker who will probably not be remembered in history. Chris Adams and Ringo Rigby. Victor Rivera, there were some really strong workers, but the promotion was just so gone by that point. We had always had these theories like, is Mike LaBelle purposely trying to lose money? Is he using this promotion as a tax write-up?
Dixie Carter before Dixie Carter?
Dixie Carter, could she be the unknown LaBelle? Okay, if you watch TNA and she comes on camera and accidentally goes, "Whoa!"
When did Michael LaBelle pass away? Did he pass away?
He did pass away. I think it was toward the end of 2009, if I remember.
Oh, okay. He can't be reincarnated as Dixie Carter. I was thinking maybe...
No, if he's reincarnated, it's going to take him another 30 years to...
He was reincarnated as a good-looking MILF. That's the one good thing about Dixie Carter, though. She's actually pretty good
beautiful.
looking. Yeah.
And it sounds like she's a nice person. Just she's clueless about the business.
Yeah, that might be her problem. She might be too nice. That's
always a deterrent in pro wrestling.
Yeah.
Well, but Alberto Madril came into LA in 1979.
Where was he? Was he somewhere else before that? Because he was in Southwest also.
He was in Southwest.
I know this because I was watching Southwest recently.
Oh.
I have Southwest DVDs now.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have to learn more about those.
They can be boring at times, but hey.
He was a mainstay in the Pacific Northwest in the early 70s.
Before you continue, I just got a great idea for the next podcast. We should copy what Southwest does. You could do the podcast in English, and I'll do it in Spanish.
I kind of like that idea.
At the same time, we'll be talking over each other. Yeah.
This will be the ultimate performance art.
Yeah. So he was before that. He was in Pacific Northwest.
Pacific Northwest. Yeah, he was a journeyman.
Where did he start? Did he start in Pacific Northwest, or you just don't?
I honestly don't know. Yeah. But he was really popular there. They liked him. Yeah. I mean, he was young. I have no idea what his work rate was like, but he was popular.
Was he considered a good worker throughout his career? Because I mean, I saw him in Texas.
I thought he was an okay worker personally.
Yeah.
I didn't think that much of him, to be honest.
Yeah. You hated the man, basically.
I did. I could not stand, and I wasn't the only one. We talked about most loved and most hated. I remember in San Bernardino, I started attending the matches there in '79 when he first came in. And, I mean, he was a babyface. And he'd act like such a dick to the fans in the lobby.
Yeah.
He looked like... He did everything
he looked like he was made to be a heel, not a babyface.
I agree. And when he was in the ring, he got over really well.
Yeah, as a
babyface. But he'd be in the lobby, people would ask him for autographs, and he'd sign them, but you could tell it's like, I don't want to be bothered.
Yeah, he doesn't want to do it.
People would try to talk to him, and he'd just answer in a kind of irritated tone. Meanwhile, the Twin Devils, who were the heels, all the fans would run up to them, and they'd spend time signing autographs.
Yeah.
They'd hug the fans, and that people would boo them when they were in the ring, but in the lobby they said, "Oh, Los Hermanos Diablo!"
Yeah.
The other faces like, Tom Pritchard,
Mil Mascara,
Chavo Guerrero and stuff.
Mil Mascara. Yeah, I just noticed you were just continuing.
Yeah, well, Mil Mascara. Well, Mil Mascara would sign fans' autographs. He's
the exception, you kind of, he's forgiven for that.
Yeah, exactly. He's Mil Mascara. Yeah. But, the fans, the baby faces, Tom Pritchard, Mondo Guerrero, Chavo Guerrero, they'd all spend time signing fans' autographs and talking with them, whether they liked to or not.
Yeah.
And I always thought that's part of being a baby face. If you don't want to do it, don't be a wrestler.
Yeah.
It always irritated me a bit when wrestlers, oh God, I hate the fans. Oh, why are you doing this? Get into another business.
What's the point of wrestling if you're not going to enjoy being around the fans?
Yeah, exactly. A guy who was a really, really good worker, a great in-ring babyface, was this guy named Steve Pardee. But he would just show like a open contempt for the fans.
I mean, that's basically why you're doing the wrestling, because you're not making any... I mean, unless you're in WWE, you're not making that much money. And even when you're making that much money, it's not going to last forever,
Right, exactly.
So, I mean, you kind of get into wrestling... You either have to get into wrestling because you love to be like, you're a wrestler, you want to do like the bet match of the year, your mark basically.
Right, exactly.
Or you want to do it you want to perform in front of fans.
Exactly. And and when I say Steve Pardee, I also have to say he was a pretty nice guy. He wasn't like a mean person or anything, but the fans bugged him, and he would show it. And my opinion, you just don't do, especially if you're a babyface. If you're a heel, you had an excuse.
So what was his LA run like, El Madril's run?
That was the only time I can remember him really being on top, aside from World Class.
Yeah. Southwest, he was like a world tag champ, wasn't he? He was doing Southwest and California at the same time, wasn't he?
Was he?
I don't know.
Most of his family lived in San Bernardino. They would always be at the matches, his folks and his kid brother. And, he was an okay worker. Like I said, in-ring, he was a good babyface. And I remember him and Colosso Colosetti had some really good matches with each other. He seemed to be on when he was with Colosetti.
Yeah.
He was on top, but he was always second tier as long as Chavo was in the territory. Chavo was always on top.
The top guy.
And
Al was tagging with Mondo and... Who was the other? Carlos Mata? Was it Carlos Mata?
Armando Guerrero and
Because it was the
Carlos
killer,
Mata.
the 3Ms or something.
That sounds right.
Madril, Mata, and Mondo, was it?
That sounds right to me.
And Mil Mascaras was the special...
Just like the R&R company.
Yeah.
And,
they always came up with these weird... How long was he in L.A.?
L.A., he was in there for...
Did he stick around?
About 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, he had quite a stay there. And
then he went to Portland again, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Or Southwest.
Portland.
I'm guessing he must have gone to Southwest too. Like,
maybe he might have done a little bit of
he showed up. He showed up in World Class like in '87. 86, 87.
That sounds right. So I think he went to Portland around '84.
Yeah, because then he went back again after World Class.
Yeah, he was good. He was good on the microphone. I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember. I don't know what he was like with all the other wrestlers, but he must have pissed Andre the Giant off, because I remember a battle royal where Andre the Giant got him in the corner, sat on his face.
Have you seen Kelly? Kelly does that sit on the face thing now.
Yeah,
which I'm sure more guys would enjoy that more than.
I think guys would be up for that finish.
Whereas Andre or Rikishi or any of those guys
say, "Do we have to?"
Yeah.
So Al Madril, I was not a fan of his, but he was not terrible. He was a good babyface in ring, not a very good babyface out ring.
As a heel, like when did he turn as a heel? Was it World Class when he first?
I think if I remember correctly, I think World Class is the only place he was a heel.
Wow.
And
Portland, because I think Portland towards the end he did the Fiesta Garden or something like that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he used to do remember the Piper's Pit? Because Piper was working in Portland around that time, and when Piper left for a while, Al Madril took over as doing the Fiesta Garden. I think he was a babyface though. He might have been a babyface. Yes. I know I have the after mags where I used to read about Al Madril's stuff.
I'd be curious to know about that, because
I just remember World Class. He was part of the World Class period at the time where it basically was like the worst wrestling TV show in the history of civilization.
That's when it was all going to hell.
Well, you basically hoped the Fantastics would be on TV, and if they weren't on, you were like, God help us. But the good thing was they always had the Fantastics. And when the Fantastics weren't there saving Kevin Von Erich's life, they were wrestling pretty good tag, like the Rock and Roll RPMs, Al Madril and Brian Diaz, Tatum and Victory, I think, came in towards the end.
That's right. In fact, I remember, I think that was the night when I just said, I can't watch this anymore, was Tatum and Victory were on top.
Yeah, they were the main event guys.
And I remember just sitting here and I just sat there, this is really sad.
And that's when you turned it off and
I never turned it back. Seriously, I never turned it back on again. It was just too depressing to watch it at that point.
Did you watch when Eric Embry came back? Because no. How shocked you never saw Eric Embry when he came back as a babyface until later.
That's the other thing, is I saw Eric Embry as a babyface in Oregon, and I always wondered why I didn't think he was like main event material, but I was saying, he should get a little more of a push than he.
I remember when I first saw Eric Embry was there during that period of time. He was another heel. He was like the junior heavyweight heel in World Class.
Yes.
I couldn't stand him.
Well, and didn't he get the push because he had some booking powers?
I don't know. I think because they were doing the junior heavyweight thing, and he went to. They did the whole angle where he went to South Africa or something. I think they were legitimately doing tours in Africa or something.
The Steve Simpson.
Yeah, because the Simpson family was over there, and all I remember is Embry was gone for like a couple of months. Then he came back and he was really fat, and I thought, oh, this guy's awesome now. like now he's fat.
What I'll never forget is when he was. I mean, he was one of the perpetual jobbers in Portland in 1980, and I remember I interviewed him for one of the Kaiser mags, and I remember women were just looking at this guy, and women were just digging him, and I'll never forget.
He's so ugly, man.
Yeah, well Here's where it gets funny. He
Yeah,
said,
it's Oregon.
he said one of the... Well, no, the women were beautiful
Oh,
there.
okay.
I mean, Oregon was a great place for hot women going to the wrestling matches. I'll never forget, he just said, it's one of the greatest things about being in the business. You get women everywhere. He put it a little more crassly, but...
Yeah.
But I noticed that women were really digging him, and then I always wondered, what was it about him? And then I remember reading Mick Foley's book and talking about how hung Eric Embry was.
Oh, okay.
I said, okay, I guess that answers it. Size does matter.
Yeah, and it was so weird. Like 87 was so like a shitty year, and that was the year when the top heels were. I think Al Perez was the top heel for a while, and then he left, or he was like starting to head to the NWA at the time, and Al Madril and Brian Diaz were like the top act as the top heels because Brian Diaz turned on the Von Erich family. If you remember, there was even like there was a rumor.
I remember that
they were trying to sell that Brian Diaz killed Mike Von Erich or something.
I remember I remember somebody sending me tapes of that, and I was watching it, and then it just didn't take. I mean, the ship had sailed, and like I said, when I saw Tatum and Victory, they came in these really cheap robes.
Yeah,
and these two just hairy...
They just didn't look like main event.
Yeah, and they're trying to do the sexy thing where they're gyrating their hips, and I'm saying, oh man, and then I guess it didn't help that I knew that they worked at a pizza parlor nearby too.
And the sad thing was, like, I think by that point you already, like, drug use, steroids were already so big that even like small guys had builds, like.
Yeah.
So it's like you kind of expected guys to look a little better, and John Tatum did not look. Tatum did not look like. John Tatum had Jerry Brown's body, basically.
That's a great way of putting it.
In the 80s.
That's a very great...
In the 80s.
He had Jerry Brown's body, and he didn't have Jerry Brown's work rate or appeal.
Yeah.
But you're right, in the 80s, that does make a big difference, is it just didn't fly.
I think that's what killed World Class more than anything, because I think people will say, oh, the Von Erichs thing, but they were still stuck with, like, guys who just didn't have the look. They didn't have the
look. I'm certain the payoffs were not what they were a few years earlier.
Yeah.
There's a time when people wanted to go to World Class.
Yeah.
People were interested, and
but it's just amazing. Like, one week you're watching like Rick Rude and Buzz Sawyer, Matt Bourne, and this is still like it was still pretty bad because World Class started getting bad like in late '86, in the late 86, but they still had like guys who you could believe as good workers.
Yes.
But then the babyface side started dying. Like Dingo Warrior and Kevin Von Erich couldn't cut a promo. Bruiser Brody was only showing up sporadically.
Yes.
And then it wasn't until they got the Fantastics back where the babyface side was like, okay, now they got good workers, but they can't talk. They weren't really good talkers. So then they had the Simpsons and all these other guys. Like, okay, it's pretty much.
Yeah.
And you had Al Madril. So right after that, Al Madril went to I think he went to the other group in Texas though. Now that you think about Wild West or something like that. I think he worked there.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, like Iceman King Parsons and all those guys.
Okay, I'm not certain. I think that's one of the promotions. I don't know who the wrestler was, but there's a wrestler who actually put out a sheet in the late 80s.
Exclusively for Wild West.
Well, what it was he was a worker, and he put out an anonymous kayfabe sheet.
Oh, who was it?
I never found out.
Oh.
He did it anonymously, and but it was really interesting. So what he'd do is he'd write what people's payoffs were. Like, I know what these payoffs are. So it was fascinating from fans.
Anybody making $17?
Oh yeah, they weren't flattering payoffs. The only thing where he irked me was he'd always bitch about how little Tim Talltree was.
Oh.
And I just sat there reading it saying, well, one, I saw Talltree work a lot, and anybody who worked with Tim Talltree respected Tim Talltree.
Yeah.
And I just sat there thinking, I hope you never say this to his face because you're going to be in for a really bad surprise.
Maybe it was Tim Talltree who was writing the newsletter.
Yeah, definitely not him. He would have wrote going, hey man, got some news for you.
This was too.
I don't want to talk about it. Go away.
Yeah.
Tim Talltree was just an awesome worker and a no-nonsense tough guy. And I'm just kind of paraphrasing. The guy wrote something to the extent of we spend lots of time in the gym to get big, and here he comes in just this string being of a guy, and I'm saying, oh, please don't say that to his face because he'll tear you a new one.
But see, I would believe Tim Talltree main eventing ahead of John Tatum.
I would too.
Or Jack Victory.
I would too.
Don't you? I mean, I don't know. Was Jack Victory a crappy wrestler? I was a kid. I mean, I just didn't like him because I thought he kind of sucked. Was he all right? Where would he?
You know what? I'm embarrassed. I'm just embarrassed to say it is.
Just don't remember.
I'm having amnesia on it.
Because I just remember every time they would add Jack Victory, like somebody would sign him and bring him in, and I was like, man, Jack Victory sucks. Because certain like I would just remember certain like jobbers.
Yeah.
Mike Jackson. You knew he was going to wrestle. You knew he was going to be good.
Yeah.
Mike Boyette had his gimmick where he was going to job.
That was cool.
Certain guys, but like Jack Victory was like a notch above those jobber guys.
And I loved whenever they put him under a mask, and you could tell it was him because of that butt.
Yeah, the body. You were like, Jack Victory.
He had that big butt.
Yeah, like they have the
Country Bear Jamboree butt.
Yeah, the Russian assassins, and it was like Jack Victory, the extra Russian assassin. Come on. Or they had the royal family. Remember the royal family? Him and Rip Morgan.
Yes.
You know what I was thinking? I was going to write, I can't believe John Laurinaitis, 20 years ago, was carrying the New Zealand flag for the sheep herders.
That's right.
And now he's the number 2 guy in WWE.
Well, like I said, he's not loved, but
I always thought he sucked too, John Laurinaitis.
Yeah, he never did anything for me. Yeah. Never did anything for me.
See, Al Madril, I mean...
No, Al Madril, he's one of those guys where I don't think he was this 5-star worker, but he had appeal, and in the territory days, I could see people saying, "Oh yeah, I'd like to see him."
I think at the point where he was already he was being main evented or featured, it was at a point where Al Madril just didn't. I mean, you would watch the NWA show, you would watch Ric Flair, you would watch Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard. These guys look like main event guys because they could work
exactly.
And I mean, they weren't losing their hair. I mean, Arn Anderson was. I mean, but Arn Anderson had that. Arn Anderson can Al Madril could not cut a promo like Arn Anderson. Arn Anderson could cut a promo and he would scare the shit out of you.
Yes.
So, I mean, the losing his hair thing was like part of the whole act.
Yeah, if you had never watched wrestling and you saw Arn Anderson, you say,
that's a bad
who's this middle-aged bald guy? But once he worked and took the mic, you're going, I don't want to mess with him.
Yeah, I don't want to mess with
near him.
Arn Anderson could walk into into your bar and you'd be like, holy shit, I don't want to fuck with that guy.
Yes.
Ole Anderson was the same way. Like when you were talking about Ole Anderson recently.
Yes.
He was another guy I thought. And that's another guy I've been watching a lot of Georgia wrestling. So I've been watching Ole Anderson. He was awesome.
Early 80s. That guy, I thought he's great both as a face and a heel.
Yeah.
When he started, started losing it when he started doing the kind of embarrassing things like when wrestlers who would jump to WWF, he had roll tape saying, Gordon Soley, I'd like to show you some interesting footage of when little guys can beat up big guys.
Yeah.
And so he'd show, I think Brett Sawyer dominating the Iron Sheik for a few minutes.
I remember like towards the early part when WCW when they were making the name change.
Yeah,
they would show highlights if Mark Callis would leave. Remember Undertaker? That was Undertaker. Mark Callis. If he lost to Sting, they would show that 50,000 times.
Yes.
I was like, oh, he must suck.
Yeah.
He's in WWE now. He's the Undertaker. He must suck. Meanwhile, the Undertaker is probably one of the all-time, probably the greatest big guy of all time.
In fact, two guys I loved as intelligent heels in the early 80s were Ole Anderson. I don't know how to use this thing.
You gotta fill it out in 6 hours.
Okay. July 22nd. Viva La Lucha pay-per-view. Viva La Lucha, San Diego, California. We're here with Thunderkitty. Tell us about yourself.
Well, my name's Thunderkitty, and if you know who I am, then you know that I am the cat's pajamas. I will kick the ass of any man or woman in this building. I don't care. And tonight, I'm here to kick ass and take names, basically. And that's really all that you need to know about me.
But there's so much to know about you.
There is so much. There's not enough tape on your little recording device there, in which for me to tell you everything there is to know about me.
What guy?
Who's your opponent this year?
I don't know, but it doesn't really matter.
But you're not worried, obviously.
I'm really not worried about it.
It's all about Thunderkitties, ladies and gentlemen. Tell us about what you got fascinated in the business.
Can you repeat the question?
Tell us what got you fascinated in the wrestling business.
Thunderkitty likes the wrestling business because it's athleticism mixed with, fighting and theatrics and stuff like that.
How old were you when you got turned on to it?
I was a youngin', probably a teenager.
Very cool. Your influences?
I'm influences by the great women such as like the Fabulous Moolah, Leilani Kai, Penny Banner, women like that, just the golden age, of wrestling, back when it was wrestling and not what you see on TV these days.
What's so fascinating is your Facebook profile. You have some of the most diverse interests in arts and music. Tell us about that.
Thunderkitty likes a little bit of everything. Life is like a Baskin-Robbins, if you will, and Thunderkitty likes ice cream, so Thunderkitty wants to try all of the different flavors. So she has very many interests and conquests and things that she does in her off time when she's not beating people up.
Now you're a big comic book fan, right?
Yes, I am.
What are you reading right now? What do you like?
I like The Walking Dead. I like Batman. I don't read Spider-Man anymore. I like the Avengers. I was reading this book called Chew a while back by Image Comics. It was pretty good. I like Green Lantern a lot. Pretty much anything Green Lantern related except for the movie. I like Wonder Woman. Stuff like that.
Tom Waits or David Bowie? Who's cooler?
David Bowie.
Very cool. His old era or his 80s, post-80s?
Ziggy Stardust era. And
One of the
older.
greatest albums ever made.
I would say so too.
Trainer.
Trainer, I was trained by the Santino Brothers Wrestling Academy and the Ballard Brothers. That's where I got most of my training. I've received additional training here and there from other people, but that is where I got the majority of my training is from.
Can you tell the Ballards apart?
Yes, I can.
Is there a trick?
Yes, there is.
One of them has a cast on his leg, right?
Right now, probably, yeah.
That's how I tell them apart.
But no, for the longest time, I could not tell them apart. But after a while, after you see them enough, you can tell them apart. But at first, it is a little difficult.
Read what you like into that, ladies and gentlemen.
No, it's their if you look at their noses and their teeth, that's how I tell them apart.
So get them to give you a big open mouth smile.
Yes.
That's the way to tell them
That's
apart.
the best way to tell them apart.
Very cool. You hail from Pico Rivera?
Not originally, but that's where I live.
Oh, where do you hail from?
I hail from Gulfport, Mississippi, actually.
And how long you been in California?
About 10 years.
How do you like it here?
It's all right, I guess.
Is what it is?
It is what it is.
One of our many admirers, Southern California, ladies and gentlemen. Thunderkitty, you totally rock. Hope to see much more of you.
Oh, you will. You will. Don't worry about that.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Thank you.